You're listening to the Variety Sports Network, your home for the best sports podcasters and live shows.
And we are live here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, joining you on Sunday, March 19th. Tyler, we'll get into your weekend here, but it's, like we said, best time of the year for me. We'll see what we know your thoughts here in a few minutes. But of course, I'm joined here with me, as usual, here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast here. Tyler, how are we doing there?
It's been a rough sports week for me. I mean, I celebrated a birthday. I survived that. But as far as sports go, just a downright terrible week.
Well, we're here to hopefully cheer you up, unlike my brother during the game that I just showed you right before we got on about wishing you a happy birthday. The moment of not even planned. Like we said, I loved it, right? But when Brian texted me that night saying, that's Casey for you in a good-natured way. Like, this is kind of how we treat each other. That was fun. I'm sure you were not feeling good at the moment, though. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It could have been worse, Tyler. He could have gave you some shoulder taps.
I could have.
That could have been worse over there. Well, like you said, we got a lot to get into the show. We're going to talk disappointing moments, kind of maybe that will help you kind of get through this tough patch. Or maybe help other people there. We're going to get through maybe it'll help us through the Warriors talk a little bit here as well. Get us through the down times right now, and the road woes continue. We'll touch on that a little bit. I also got some good hot and colds for the week that we'll touch on as well, and some NCAA maybe upsets that have been forgotten a little bit. So a lot to get into here on episode 128 of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Gentlemen, how about we start with how we usually do here, and just say quickly, be a fatty here. Join us here on the show. Appreciate anybody that tunes in. Appreciate the support there. Tyler's been doing the shorts over there. Logan's been doing a good job editing and stuff like that, and they've been turning out really good. And so, Tyler, good stuff there with that one. To shout you out for this good work you're putting in with that stuff.
Thank you. It's fun. It's kind of like my cup of tea. Right? I love these little short, quick takes. You just get in, you get out, you get your feelings all out to the web, and you just let it go from there. I enjoy doing them, so you'll see a lot more of them.
It's like you're retired. No, I'm just kidding. We got that. All right, let's get into it. We got our wake and hot take like we always do here on the show. All right, let's go over some of our most disappointing sports moments. Not necessarily the Arizona one. We could touch on that one as well here, hopefully in a few minutes. But in the touch of that game, Tyler, maybe I feel like this is a good time for us to go over just – not always just the most epic games that were losses, but just even games that were just I can't believe I'm a fan of this team. Just disappointing moments. Brian, hopefully you got a few as well here. Tyler, I'll give you the floor first. What do you got there?
I mean, going by that outline, the Giants were playing the Colorado Rockies, I want to say, in 2005. And they've been on the cusp. It was like the end of the Barry Bonds being good era. And they just couldn't get over the hump. They'd always lose in the divisional round. And then they lost to – it was actually 2003, the year after the World Series. And the loss to the Marlins in the divisional round with JT Snow lumbering around third. And you see Pudge Rodriguez holding the ball, screaming at the top of his lungs, which they later go on and win the World Series. Just a loss where I was like, this team's never winning. This is just what I'm stuck with the rest of my life. I'm stuck with losing in the playoffs. But, yeah, that was one of the games that really hit me where I was like,
that's an epic
one. It's hard to root for these sports.
Because he, shoved it right in your face. He's like, well, it's funny you said that because I also had, the Cruz one in the midst of that series.
Yeah.
Did you have that at all?
It was just an all-time bad series. I was at game one, actually, when Jason Smith beat them. Josh Beckett, 1-0. Who was the center? Marquise Grissom made a great play at the wall, I believe, to save the game. But, yeah, the series in general, just a tough loss. Jeff Conine throwing home to tag out JT Snow.
Well, give me a couple others here. What else you got there?
I got the Warriors in 2016, Game 7. That one hurt. Losing. But that never questioned my fanhood because how good they were the whole year and then the years previous and years later. The Niners versus Seahawks. Don't try me with that sorry-ass receiver Crabtree. That tough loss. And then the Rockies one I was going to do, I think it was Seth Smith or Seth one of those lefties on the Rockies who wasn't that good. Hit a granny. It was just like, this season, why do I do this?
It was
This
Seth
is like,
Smith.
I was like, why do I do this? This isn't fun anymore. Right? They just always lose. It's heartbreaking every year. And so that was another one that's not as big, like wasn't in the playoffs or anything, but just killed me.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had a couple for the Giants. Just going to touch on them a little bit. I had the Ortiz one. I had you got to be disappointed.
I have that written down, but
That
too
would
many
have-
epic ones.
And then you had the Cruz one. That was probably one as well. I'm sure you're a little disappointed, like I said there. Brian, you got something that you were disappointed in as well?
Yeah, it was a while ago, but when I was a kid, when Roberto Alomar hit that game-winning home run off of Dennis Eckersley in the '92 ALCS, and I just remember watching it with my mom and just being so disappointed after that.
He throws up his kind of like the Ivan Rodriguez in the he throws that down the right field line there. Eckersley, God, those are tough. And
then we definitely have to include the game that me and you went to, Darren, when we played the Red Sox, and it was Pedro Martinez and Barry Zito.
That was that was game one, right? The Grand Slam one. Or no, that was game 5.
Yeah, game 5.
Was that the Jared Lowe outside sinker?
I'm gonna check that one of 8 A's ones here that are gonna be on the list. They're on the disappointing list here. I gotta shout out my guy, like I usually do here. A guy here, he came up with this idea with me, or he came up with this idea in the week when he DM'd it, and he had a few of his I wanted to shout out as well because I told him I wanted to read some on the air here. He had because he grew up, as I understood, in New York, I believe like more like the Long Island area, and his top 5 were, of course, Memphis losing to Kansas in the overtime championship. One, Brian, I think we might have actually been like, I don't know if we were watching this game. Kenny Rogers walks in the winning run against the Braves for the Mets. That was one that I found was on his list. He said the Grizzlies getting the number 2 overall pick when LeBron James was in the draft, and then they didn't get anybody because of an Otis Thorpe protected trade. And then he said a couple others was Darius Washington made the list, and then Starks chucking up a lot of threes in game 7 there against the Rockets. So a couple there from our guy on a few. It's kind of funny to get other people's disappointing list as well. Like none of those we would have probably picked out as on our list. So he also had the Jets in there in the AFC Championship game as well. So appreciate him with those always tuning in. All right, so I got some of mine. You guys go feel with yours. I got my number 1 is the Jeter flip. It's just I was just heartbroken after that one. That one just like it would crush me. That one I was like, are you kidding me? The guy I just can't stand the best. I mean, then we ended up losing the series on top of it. But I was not. I just remembered like not being way too disappointed after that loss. I have also Ray Durham popping out in game 5 against the Twins of the Moneyball era, like another just defeated loss. Like that's got to be on the most disappointed loss for me of all time. Eric Burns not touching home plate against the Red Sox. Just the moment that happened, like the disappointment when we lost, thinking like, oh my God. And then sure enough, Brian, I'm at your house Sunday morning and Keith Folk gives up the game winning double to David Ortiz in the right center gap. And they end up blowing another first round series. So those are ones that like I just remember like Tyler said, I questioned my fanhood at that time. It's like you know what I mean? You're like, what the hell is this stuff? So that was on my list. Let's go kind of into like in this part of it though, Tyler. Like
can I ask you guys a question about a game that I thought what are your thoughts on when Tejada didn't go home? He like just stood at the baseline.
Was that the same game, I believe.
I think it was the same as
the same game as there. They did a lot of dumb crap the A's in the playoffs.
I feel like no one mentions that, like, because I don't know. Some people think it was interference. He should have been given home. Some people are like, why didn't he just run home? I was just wondering if you had
I think it's because the Red Sox ended up losing in the ALCS. Thinking they win the World Series, it's a much bigger deal, and it's the A's. It's like they're supposed to lose that game. Brian, that whole series was ridiculous. The Red Sox one.
Yeah, it's just disappointing A's Moneyball playoff experiences.
That final 3 games, T. Long and Mel Hughes, that definitely made the list. Bases loaded, 1 out. I mean, you couldn't ask for more in a Game 5 situation. All you need is a tying runs on third, winning runs on second. Derek Lowe comes in, both guys strike out. Like, I think maybe
and then he gives the
both
suck
look.
it sign. Gives the suck it sign to the
And then he gets
crowd.
the suck it sign. You're right. I forgot that. I forgot
Derek
he did
Lowe.
get the second. I forgot he did get the second sign.
Yeah,
Afterwards.
you guys were constantly up 2-0 in playoff series. It just would fall apart in the last 3 games.
And Brian's right. We were at that game. That game was crazy. I remember people like Red Sox fans being like all the way in center field up on Mount Davis, and then they made their way down to the field. I mean, we sat in that parking lot all the way until it was cleared out. So I was in that Dodge Dart, and I didn't want to stop.
And we listened to a great Colts Buccaneers.
That wasn't random, though, but you're right. We did listen to
Was that the big Peyton Manning comeback?
It was.
Yeah.
We got lucky on that one. At least you and I remember Brian. You weren't disappointed. I would say for Brian that might be number one. I think when I was with him, I remember you didn't even talk to me for a couple hours. I was pretty. I think you helped me. No, because I've been so pissed in the past. I think that was one of the moments where Brian had to lean on my shoulder a little bit more. We'll say that way, right, Brian?
It was just so disappointing. It took forever to get out of the parking lot, and then the drive home. It was just like we blew it again.
That was the clicker game, so that was a big one there. That was the one. Tyler, you got a couple others or anything, or Brian?
Give me a second. I do.
I guess I could go
ahead,
2019 Super Bowl when we had the lead against the Chiefs and kind of blew it.
Tyler,
yeah, that was tough.
I kind of wanted to give you a chance now with the Arizona loss, though. So let's kind of that was a disappointing loss, right? Like obviously there. So where do you rank some of your obviously you have some fandom with that team. So where's your you got to have some over the years that is this the worst one that you just experienced?
No,
where they were a 2 seed and they lost to 15 seed Princeton.
I mean, it's the worst one as far as seeding and that.
Does it feel the worst?
No, it doesn't
feel the most.
Even the one with DeAndre Ayton and Alonzo Trier where they lost to Buffalo in the first round was even worse than that one because they had the best player in college supposedly, and they just got run out the jet. They lost by 20. So I was like, "What the hell is this?" And not the worst.
Who was the coach? Was that Floyd still?
No, that was Sean Miller.
Still okay.
Any great recruit, it was Sean Miller. He was a great keeper. But outside of that, the toughest Arizona loss is obviously the Illinois one. That one I'll never forget. That's one of the top 5 toughest losses in my life.
I was thinking, were you disappointed in the Duke one when they lost? I mean, that was probably not the same as an upset, but was that where that was none of those? Is there any late round disappointments with you with that team?
Losing to Wisconsin with Derek Williams. That team was loaded. I thought they were the best team but Frank Kaminsky was just too much. Then they lost to Wisconsin again the next year in the Elite Eight. They just couldn't get over that one. So they're not it. They hurt for a little while. The only one that really sticks with me is that Illinois one.
It's funny that's the one that sticks with you the most. That's what we want here. We want to pick those apart. We want to get those ones I have one that's a random, a lot of people I know a lot of people my brother, the Royals one with the A's. That one didn't at that point, the A's just had to be so beaten down. That wasn't even a shock when they blew that game and Brandon Moss instituted. That wasn't even a bit. I got to throw a couple of Rangers ones in here. Of course, for me, it's just a random one in 2009. I didn't even want to be a fan after this game. They lose to the Giants in week 5. And I mean, they get blown out 44-7. I think what I have wrote down, the Giants outscored them or out-yarded them 484 to 124.
Oh, geez.
And Eli Manning, I read the article. He didn't even play half the game. He played less than half the game in an NFL week 5 matchup. The quotes after the game were ridiculous. You want to just guess for the sake of it? The reason it was so disappointing is because there was no heart in that game. I mean, I think Eli led a 77, 94, 92, and 13-yard drive with Akeem Nicks, Manny. Those are some names to throw at you in the past. You want to guess who the starting running backs for the Raiders were that day? They played a couple years on the team.
Lamont Jordan?
Nope, not Lamont Jordan. Good guess. Ryan, you want to take a guess of the running back the 2009 seasons for the Raiders? This tells you where they were.
That's probably before.
Justin Fargas and Michael Bush were our starting running backs.
Yeah, I remember that.
The old Louisville love Michael Bush. Yeah, Justin Fargas. I remember Raider fans loved Justin Fargas. I was like, this guy is garbage. Why are you guys having a love affair with him?
They had five guys. They had 5 guys in that game. Their lead receiver was Zach Wilson and Luke Walton. There was one right now. Luke Lawton. That's what it was. Luke Lawton. So that one I remember being super disappointed as all. And then Ravens. The Ravens.
I thought there was a game you guys played in Seattle that you kind of blew when you had Allen.
Oh my gosh!
Corner.
Yeah, when we had Gruden, but we at least made the playoffs. Yeah, with Sean Alexander with that's on a Saturday rainy day. Yeah, you got ran for like 220 yards. Yeah, that was a pretty crushing loss. I do remember being pretty pissed off. There was one early on. I think I would have been madder. It was like when the Raiders first came back to Oakland. The Raiders were 8-2. I remember my dad being pissed about that one. And Jeff who was it? Jeff George? No, Hostetler was the quarterback, and they started out 8-2, and then they lost 6 straight to go 8-8, and they missed it on the playoffs. Typical Raider fashion, first season back in Oakland. And then Tyler, I had to throw this one in there. Is Petrus? I remember when he missed those free throws.
Oh God!
I was actually really I was like, oh my. It wasn't just a bad loss. Like I'm not even mentioning some of the bad. Like I just remember like being sulky. Like that's.
And you kind of saw it coming when he was going up to the line. You're like, he's gonna miss.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like he was. Yeah, that was a tough one. Another Niners one that it probably sticks with me more than even the Super Bowl losses is the Kyle Williams fumbles.
Oh,
and then
man,
Ahmed
yeah.
Bradshaw fumbles.
Oh,
they don't call it. They say his progress is stopped. That one just eats at me with football a lot. Like, yeah, the first year Harbaugh was there. Seems like we were destined.
Throw out real quick. Last couple of answers. I got to get the. This is a baseball one I kind of forgot about. I had to scroll down low. He had Matt Harvey not wanting to come out of the game and blowing it against the wall. Baseball has a way, man. Like if you watch that sport, like it just all you know what I mean. It just has a way of doing it. And like really crushing you a little bit because of like how slow. I don't know. There's something about it in the playoffs that just the losses. It can be very.
I guess for a Cubs fan, we could go the Bartman game.
Wow, that's a big line. We got a pretty bad guy. We should. Does he even do any more interviews in that part? All right, that's a longer weekend hot take than we usually do here, but that was fun. I knew it would be, but I thought this would be kind of just a fun one to kind of go through some of like the looking back. Like I said, I wanted to go back and look at some of the stats on some of these things just to kind of get like a real feel for what we were looking at there. All right. Let's go to the dubs real quick this week. I don't know, Tyler. Like we said, here's just the main things. We'll hit on them. We'll move on from them. They're at their usual, right? They go 0-3. That's on the road trip so far. They still got 2 more games left. Houston, Dallas. I mean, like you said last week, maybe they get the Houston one, but I mean now Houston's starting to play a little bit better and getting some random wins late in the season. I mean, I don't know. Like I got right here, like. You want to add anything to that? I got Draymond serves the suspension. Boom. Nothing shocking there, right, this week. More trash talking for Memphis, but no defense, right? They're doing their thing. You want to touch on that with Clay? I saw you were tweeting stuff about that. And then can Kuminga save the Warriors? I'm going to give you the floor now. Good. Yep.
I mean, as far as Kuminga saving the Warriors, I don't think Kuminga's saving the Warriors. Should he play? I hope they play him for sure, but he's not saving the season. I don't think he's good enough yet, but they can't win on the road, so play the guy. I'm sick of watching Lamb play. He doesn't deserve any minutes. He's not good. He's not building anything. Play Kuminga, play Moody, play PB&J even every once in a while. I don't need to see Lamb.
Is Lamb actually hated more than Lee at this point? He's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, at least they won with Lee.
Lee won at least a championship, and he's killed the Warriors a couple of times.
Exactly. So, yeah, Lee's better than Lamb. And he's a better player than Lamb. So it's not even like – I mean, he's not much better, but he's better. And then Draymond serves a suspension. Good. The Memphis thing. I was actually enjoying watching Dylan Brooks play. I was like, wow, this is how I want Dylan Brooks to play if he wants to be a winning player. And he's played great since he started running his mouth and jaw went out. He's not taking 20 shots a game. And he's just getting in people's head. He's playing good defense. And Warriors can't do anything on the road. Curry was god-awful. DiVincenzo didn't even show up. And I don't even know why he was suited up the way he played. Clay was garbage. He was minus 30 plus minus. I don't know what they do on the road. They just aren't any good on the road. Like do teams just hit more shots? That's what it sounds like listening to your favorite announcer, Bob Fitzgerald. They're like, oh, the runouts are great. They're playing good defense. They're just hitting these shots. Like every day on the road, this is what happens. I just don't buy it. This team's a
miss on
sell.
the three. The teams don't miss against the Warriors.
Yeah. The team's
And then
a
I
sell at this
like
point.
Azubuike's like, he'll be like, well, they're not really closing out very well. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, but those are gonna miss. Those are tough shots. The percentages say
These players are very inefficient normally, but they're hitting their threes. The only one you can depend on is Kennard. Yeah, it's just annoying. This team's
call
a
and
sell.
tell
at
me
this
if you
point.
like my Bob Fitzgerald voice, by the way.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
how about
so-
Clay in particular? Like, is he getting sensitive? Like, it feels like okay, Brooks did give the in the head thing. I know that they're like generally when you talk trash, you don't back down from each other in that regard. Obviously they don't like each other from a basketball standpoint at all. It's probably starting to get a little bit more personal, or that's the way it seems in a sense. And I don't know, like I don't even know if I want the Warriors to play the Grizzlies, but I don't in some ways. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, if they're not full, I'm not sure if they could beat them. But if they do beat them, then you have the leg up forever. So there's that's gonna. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Do I think they're in Clay's head?
Yeah.
A little bit. I don't think it affects the way he plays. I mean, maybe the way they play basketball affects the way he plays more than anything they say to him. Is he a little more sensitive? Yeah, I guess. He definitely responds a lot more to a lot less than he used to. He used to just play. Like, that was our favorite thing about him. He was stoic. He didn't show much emotion unless it was after a game or after a championship. He didn't give you quotes until probably the LeBron one was probably his first quote in the finals where he actually gave you something to like, oh. But before that, and since then, until he came back from these injuries, he didn't say much. During his injuries, he was quiet, and then he got sensitive at some point. I don't think it affects the way he plays. I still love Clay. I still back Clay till forever. I don't mind him counting to 4. Like that, he earned that right. You're not going to take that away from him. I don't think it's like out of bounds for him to do that.
Did the Warriors ever get like this with the Clippers? I don't even remember getting this like kind of like petty and something. Probably not.
I don't think we won enough to like.
Yeah, probably.
We
not
still they were kind of the big brother at that point when we were coming up.
I like how Brooks says he thinks he's rent free. I love that quote in general. Like it. That's always. I don't know why that one always cracks me up. All right, so I got Kuminga. Like I said, he's either hoped to maybe swing the season in some regard. That's all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anything else at this point other than Wiggins coming back now. And you know what I mean? Not tomorrow, not yet.
Yeah.
And I understand. Like everybody, we want to like give him his grace and stuff like that. But the reality is, on the basketball court, it's not going to help him win at all. They need him. No. They need him to win. So. And then Draymond, at least you got the technical out of the way, I guess. And they were probably going to lose anyways on the road. So I guess at least you got it out of the way on the road. So, all right, do they beat the Rockets or the Mavs?
I'm going no. I don't think they're winning any more road games.
No.
I don't have faith in this team on the road. They're terrible.
7-29, Brian. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
You won a championship.
That's
all right.
Yeah, it's hard to win anything in the playoffs if you're that bad on the road.
Well, I mean, like, I just don't see, like you said, there's nothing there. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's just nothing there where you're like hang your hat on it sometimes. Like at home, even the games they win, I've been kind of, I don't know, like they're, and even if they're not fluky, they're too Curry-esque at times. They're not as team wins to result in always like to beat the best team. So we'll see. The only thing they have going for them is we'll get into it a little later. Is the West is a little. What do you say? What do the kids say? Little mid? Is that what it is?
Yeah. The Warriors, it seems like when the Warriors played out, they used to methodically go up like when it was even. Now it seems like they're methodically getting blown out unless they go on a hot streak and then they'll come back. But before it was like, oh, we'll play even and then go on a hot streak and go up 20. And now it's like, oh, we got to have our big run just to catch up. And then we fall apart in the fourth quarter every road game.
It's ridiculous. It's always the same pattern every game. Well, except for this one, maybe get Memphis. It wasn't the same. All right, let's go to our a look back here at the NCAA tournament. Man, I had a great time there when I went to Sacramento this week for the NCAA tournament. And man, once you go there, it's just like you feel like you're a little bit invested a little bit into it, the tournament Brian. So I wanted to kind of look back at, I got to see the Princeton over Arizona upset. What a game it was to be there live, to see the Arizona crowd ahead of me behind the Arizona bench struggling. The coach did try to fire up the crowd a little bit about 5 minutes before, and it did not work. The crowd did not. There wasn't as many.
I think they went scoreless the last 5 minutes of the game.
And I got to say, Tyler, there wasn't as many Arizona fans as I thought there was going to be there.
You texted me there was a bunch of Arizona fans before the game.
I thought the crowd part was going to be a little bit bigger for me. When I was there, I saw them all outside. Maybe they were just outside eating lunch. They thought it was going to be easy.
I think people want the upset in general. Like, if you're anywhere on the fence, you're going with the 15 seed. So I think it kind of just snowballs at that point where you're like, these guys aren't right. And then when you're losing, like, you're sitting on your hands, you're like scared. Princeton's playing with house money. So I think that's where the crowd doesn't really. I know Arizona travels well, so I guarantee they were there. Just nervous energy.
Casey's like, yeah, but a lot of the Arizona, because when you're sitting down, a lot of the Arizona colors like blue or gray, so it blends in, and then you can't tell. Like, you kind of forget. Like, there wasn't like the red there, but I was impressed with there wasn't very many Princeton fans, but I did see a few there. I learned from New Jersey, so New Jersey, good week of basketball here. All right, so with that said, I wanted to go over some like forgotten upsets, some that kind of just caught my attention looking back on real quick with them. Tyler, you got any that like I don't know, just like
I have.
When you think of the tournament, you kind of had to you had to look back at it. What you got?
I remember the Georgetown runs of 2008, or not runs because they get eliminated in the first round, but they lose to Davidson to start it out in 2008. The Summers and Hibbert team, they go down in the first round. That's a 14. Or that was a 10-2 in the second round. And then the next year, in 2010, they play Ohio, Miami of Ohio, and they get blown out. And that's the Greg Monroe Georgetown teams. And then they play Florida Gulf Coast, and that's a 15-2 in 2013. So like this 5-year run where they just have these epic losses of every other year. I remember those, and I was like, man, I'm never putting Georgetown into the second round ever again in my bracket.
Did they mix in an Elite Eight somewhere around or Final Four? I feel like
I think with Jeff Green in between those 5 years, they got to the Final Four, I believe.
What a uniform, though! Always say
it is a great uniform.
What a uniform! Brian, do you have any upset you think of when you think of the tournament?
Yeah, I don't think you want to take Purdue because this is the third time they've lost in the first round to like a lower seed. So it seems like Purdue is not the team you want to pick in the first round anymore.
And they have a history too. They were almost the first team to lose it at the 116 seed there. I always like I don't even know the coach's name, but what a face that guy has, the old Purdue coach. Is one of my favorite guys. John Chase.
Very angry looking guy.
Yeah, John Chase, the guy from Temple, he's playing.
I think the most iconic moment was when Jason Kidd was on Cal and he beat Duke. I think that was.
I have that one too. 6. It was only a 6-3, but Duke was coming back off those championships. They still had Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley on the team. Hurley did drop 32 points in that game, but Kidd went. This is a typical Jason Kidd, never even in college, right? He goes for 11 points, 8 rebounds, 14 assists. Like, it's as a kid, never like that's not your typical point guard in college there. So yeah, I have that one as well. I also had like the biggest one I kind of remember is randomly Harvard beating Stanford in the women's basketball one. It's the first ever one to lose to a 16, and Harvard was the 16th. So it happened in 1998. And I just remember it starting the game because women's tournament starts late. Like they used to start the games at 9:00 back then, like just the first round game.
Especially on the West Coast.
Yeah, and like I think like they still do it now. I think we're the first like 3 seeds or something like that. First 4 seeds get like literally home court advantage or something like that. So Stanford's playing against Harvard. And I'm not thinking anything of it. And then sure enough, Harvard just hangs in the game, and they end up winning 71-67. Only because I saw it live. And like they kept mentioning, I never seen it happen. I was 6. Yeah, you start to kind of watch. That's the one that always sticks out to me. Little shout out to women's basketball there. And then how about this one? Rhode Island, 1998. Katito Mobley
the half-court heave.
This team. That team was like loaded, and they with him, the Freds on that team, and they ended up losing that one. They were an 8 seed, Rhode Island. So that to me is a forgotten one. People kind of remember the Rhode Island run with Lamar Odom a little bit, but then Catino goes, he makes the run too. A guy, Tyson Wheeler, shout out to that name. What a name. Tyson Wheeler on that team. And then I got Stanford also losing to Alabama. That was a bad one. I remember when they went 30-2, and then Childress, they lose that one as well. And then I kind of a fun one. It's not a huge one in terms of seed. 5-1 is Indiana beating Duke when Duke was loaded with Dunleavy and Jay Williams and Boozer. And
I remember that. Indiana had that like Italian white point guard, Covington or Coverton or some little, this Irish guy. He was Irish.
Yeah, I
like
wrote
ginger
down
hair.
I wrote down Cloverdale, but it's actually Coverdale.
Yeah, that's it. I remember it. C with a couple of syllables.
Apparently, he does real estate or he's a businessman. I saw a picture of it when I was looking it up. Like, you remember that run though? They had Jeffries on the team, and they had the guy named what was his name? Henry on the team. So that was a fun little run there at the team. So that was one I also remember. And then a big one was George Mason, UConn. That's my last kind of one. But
I have the whole George Mason run written down. They beat Roy Williams. They beat Connecticut and Jim Calhoun. They beat Tom Izzo. So like just going through those three coaches of one run in your little George Mason, that run as a whole written down.
Maybe the next
another one I have is Florida Gulf Coast beating San Diego State.
You love that team.
I mean, they're a crazy team. You remember how they beat Georgetown when the guy threw the alley-oop from the side, like some crazy lob? He's like, oh, that's just what we do here at Florida Gulf Coast. And they were the first year eligible to be in the NCAA tournament. They were like a brand new school. And then, that was
a wild deal. I remember you texted me like, these guys are freak athletically for a 15 seed or whatever.
Yeah, what's going on here? That's some white guys that could jump too.
Yeah, that one guy. They were like dunking everywhere on it. Yeah, there's been some fun ones.
Did Antonio Gates play for George Mason or no?
No, his team made a run though. Kent State.
Yeah, Kent State.
Oh, Kent State. Yeah.
There was a tight end or a guy who tried to play tight end out of George Mason. He went to the Cowboys for a little bit. I can't remember his name off the top of my head though.
Jason Witten.
he was not a Caucasian.
And let's not forget Julius Peppers. I guess they said that he was in the Final Four with North Carolina. He played basketball for them.
You know what I learned that was Donovan McNabb actually played basketball for a series. That actually blew my mind. Like he actually played.
I didn't think he was that fast. You remember when Bucknell beat Kansas?
But yeah, I remember that one.
Wade Simeon had a Christian Laettner attempt to wide open, but he just came up short.
It's amazing in the NCAA tournament. Like that's why to me, I know you're heartbroken over and you keep tweeting like I'm over and stuff like that. But like I honestly like going to that thing like changed my perspective. I really like want to go down a lot more and like just the environment, like the one game and like even though there's like there's some like flaws to it, like I don't know, like the upsets are still the magical part of the tournament. Yeah. Even if the teams are getting a little bit more even because of whatever reasons we want to say. So, any other last ones you guys want to say, or the other ones?
I got Santa Clara beating Arizona in 93, 15-2. Steve Nash just doing his thing. That one hurt, but that was really before I was a fan of Arizona.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the game in general. How is the stadium? Like, how crowded does it get? Is it like sporadic crowd or?
No, it was awesome. Like it was started to get like, well, obviously as soon as like it starts to get to the underdog with like a few minutes left, you know what I mean? Like the crowd's going to pull for them anyways. But it was funny going there. That's what I like. One of the most unique parts was like there's 8 different schools there: Arizona, UCLA, Utah State, Boise State are the closest to Sacramento. And like none of them are like super affiliated with like Sacramento by any means, like you know what I mean. So, and then like you have people like just Kings fans there, a lot of Kings jerseys, and then people like just like like me and my family just going to watch basketball. So it was a really weird deal because like you know what I mean. Like you just have like Missouri, like nothing to do with Sacramento. Princeton, absolutely nothing to do with Sacramento. But so it was kind of unique and like just to hear the crowd root for good basketball too. It was
was it like a sellout?
Yeah, it was close to a sellout, I think. It wasn't a sellout.
So you think it's pretty packed in there?
Yeah, it was good.
Cool. I didn't know. I was that's always like, you can't really tell who's in the upper deck or how many people are really there at some of these tournament games.
Well, like they have probably half the upper deck was empty. You know what I mean? So it wasn't sold out, but like, and I was telling I was like, I'll sit in the upper deck. Like that stuff doesn't bother me. Do you go if you went to a game, would it bother you if you sat in the very last row and like just went? Like
I don't have an issue sitting in any seat as long as I don't have like a blocked view, like a flagpole in my way or something like that.
I just joke.
Baseball's a little tougher, like sitting up in Mount Davis, but
Yeah. No, but for
I
basketball,
mean,
like, I just
when the A's had those cheap upper reserve tickets, remember, Darren?
$2,
$2 hot dogs.
tickets, dude, $2 tickets and $1 hot dogs.
$1.
Was it, Brian? $1 hot dogs?
Yeah. I remember they played the Braves one time, and Javi Lopez almost broke the glass in center field. I remember that game.
That's an underrated player right there. Brian, how many hot dogs did you put down in your heyday?
In my heyday,
In your heyday.
Well, at least
probably a good amount.
I mean, I remember people. You could get up to like 8. That was like up to 8 hot dogs.
8? My God. I mean,
I'm sure they were I'm sure they were healthy for you too. All right, so those are some of our forgot upsets. Look back at the tournament. Like you said, I got to see the Princeton, Arizona one there and live, and like that's what you're hoping when you go there. That kind of like that upset. Sorry, Tyler, it happened to your team, but that's what you're rooting for when you go to a game like that. So it was fun. All right.
At least they won and went on to the Sweet 16. That makes it a little better for me.
That is true. I mean, and they dominated Missouri too in that aspect.
Yeah, they did.
All right, why don't we pay the bills here a little bit? We'll be right back. We'll do a little row one brand here. Our question of the week. I got a good one for us involving big guys here, Brian. Maybe you can help us out with this question a little bit here. So we'll be back in 45 seconds. Let's be honest. You're here because you love sports. We love sports too. And our friends over at Row One Brand love sports as much as we do. Row One Brand sells sports wall art, sports gift watches, and vintage apparel with ornamental designs created from real game ticket stubs and vintage sports memorabilia in their collection. If you want some vintage Golden State Warriors memorabilia, they have that too. It's a sports collector's dream website for anything sports related. Go over to row1brand.com to check out their great inventory. And when you use the promo code VSP15, you'll get 15% off any item on the whole site. That's code VSP15 for 15% off any item on the site. So click on the link below and go check them out. Row Run Brand, America's best vintage sports art, sports gifts. Man, we gained 10 followers right there. Unbelievable. All right.
We didn't lose one. That's good.
Question of the week here. Brought to you, like I said, by Row One Brand. Use the code VSN 15 to get 15% off anything, the art gallery there. Let's go to our question of the week here. Can you win it all with a college big? And I really didn't even know how to phrase it. I just mean like our guy Zach Edey at Purdue, Brian. He's 7'2". He's a little slower. He's a little stiff. Our guys like Sean Bradley. You even have your guys like Shaq, like over 7 feet in college. Like it just seems because of the rules and being able to not be defense at 3 seconds, the shooter's not being as good usually with the big guy. I don't know. Like there just seems to be these reasons that I don't know. I'm talking like the guys that are like over 7 feet tall that are like, I'm thinking the guys that go to like these schools like are 7'5". Even at Purdue, he was there a couple of years ago. I can't think of his name. I don't know, Tyler. I don't even like. It just seems like when they get to the tournament, the coaches on the other side can figure out strategies to stop these bigger, tall, slow guys that, yes, have the height and weight advantage and maybe dominate during the regular season. Even a guy like Zach Edey, who people are saying could be a lottery pick. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back on it, when's the last time a big man won that was led by a big man? Kentucky with Anthony Davis, but he's not your prototypical back of the basket big man. So
those aren't the guys I'm trying to talk about because I know and I know that in that sense too. It's like those are the guys that now those guys are like the prototypes now at centers. Like you're saying, yeah. So it's like those big stiff guys.
But even those guys, there's not that many of them that have won. There's not an NBA lottery pick big guy that's won a championship outside of him.
But before we go any farther, I just want to establish this. I don't consider Tim A. He's probably he's kind of the best center right in the league. But I don't really consider him. I don't know. I don't consider.
Why don't you consider him a big guy?
Because he's not 7 feet, lumbering at 1 feet. Those type of guys, our Mr. Edey's. Those are the guys I'm looking at that are giants out there on the floor. There just seems to be these type of guys that can't they should win. And he actually could win Player of the Year in some ways. But it just seems like that kind of style is hard to win with. Those type of big guys and come to one game elimination.
But I'd even include Timmy in that. I don't think you're winning with Timmy as your offense based around him. He's not like this athletic guy who's gonna win you anything. I don't think. Like even you go back to Tim Duncan, they couldn't win with Tim Duncan. You couldn't win with Shaq. Like it's hard to win if your offense is throw it down low into the post, like you said before. Because if they double, which they're gonna, you kick it out to a terrible shooter in college for the most part. You might have one that's over 40%, but most of them just can't shoot, especially if you have one of those big guys, and they weren't getting shots in the regular season. So I think it's just your whole game plan goes a different direction, and it's just hard to win with those type of players.
The only reason I'm trying not to include Timmy is because of Zach Edey's never taken anybody off the dribble from the elbow very often, or like on the 3-point line. He's usually just posted up and that kind of thing. So I don't know, Brian. What do you think of the big guy? Like, can they ever win anymore? Like,
Yeah, I don't remember the last one who actually won. I mean,
Bryant Reeves.
Didn't Greg Oden go to the Final Four one year? But I mean,
He might be the last guy.
win.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
that's a good call. He might be the last like huge guy where you thought he was going to be, and he was able to maybe carry a team to a championship. That's a pretty good call there. Like Horford, Noah for me just aren't like. I'm just talking where the offense is like dumped into the.
Did the Beat and Ben Gordon win one together?
Yeah, they won one. Oh no, they didn't win one. That was what's the guy that was drafted by the Bobcats? Okafor. He was the guy that made it over there.
Jeremy Lamb.
No, that was with. I think that was Lamb was with.
Oh, Kemba.
Yeah. UConn won too many times for us. All right. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking for question of the week. It just kind of was an interesting thing for me looking back, like some of the guys like Chet even. I remember this big guy in Western Kentucky back in the day that would make the tournament all the time. What was his name? Jamarian Sharp. Like he was like 7'3", like huge guy. Like those just kind of those type of guys that are massive. There's some guy I remember like a few years ago that was like 7'6". Remember like 300. There's always like a fun big guy in the tournament once in a while like that. So they never can usually carry the team all the way to the championship though. All right.
But just like Bill Walton says, throw it down, big man.
Yeah, I know it has been. I love Bill Walton, by the way, on the radio too. He's one of my favorite guys out there. I know people don't like him much there. All right, who's hot here? I got the NCAA tournament. A number of close games here. Like I said, we talked about a little bit right there, but that's what I got. To me, the tournament's just been a lot of fun. I talked about being there at the tournament. Tyler, like I said, you got to go one of these times. Brian, you got to go. It's a different experience. I think once you're there too, it just kind of, like I said, kind of invest you in the players a little bit there, the team, the culture's there. Even if you didn't go to the alumni to that specific school, Tyler, might be different for you. Like going with a team, you might be too invested in one team if they lost like you did yesterday, so you might not enjoy it. Maybe you would, but it'd be fun to make it an all-day thing, especially for that first round where you have like the 2 sessions. That's kind of cool where you get like the 2 games and you get another 2. Our guy Wood did that in Birmingham there. So it'd be fun to do that. Next year it's in San Francisco, the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. So that's the next local one we have here. All right, so that's what I got for who's hot with it. Brian, let's go to who's cold here. Aaron Rodgers officially request the trade. Like we said on Pat McAfee, we touched on it a little bit yesterday on the TMB show. I love how my question with him is, will his act fly in New York? Like when I wanted to touch on it more than we did yesterday. Like I can't see him when he has a bad game. Like in the media, like is hounding him after the game, and the press is like, I could see him just being super annoyed with that, and everybody being put off by that, and kind of how Favre has a different feel, and that didn't really work with the Jets fans. Like I feel like this could be the same way with Rodgers if things don't go perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If things don't go the way they're supposed to go, then I don't think Rodgers kind of gets annoyed with people, and if they're asking him like point-on questions or getting on his case, like he used to do with the Packer media, where he'd say, "Just relax."
I don't know, like Tyler. To me, that like him just going to the Jets is the way he's doing it. Where it's so weird to me, where Favre was his mentor, and then and there's just so many unique things. They're so different, but there are like so many odd similarities with them in regards. I don't know. I had to put him as a cold of the week.
Yeah, as far as him being his mentor, they despised each other from what I've heard, like what the reports of it. And now he's just turning into Brett Favre 20 years later. Like, it's crazy how you go from your rivals become your idols almost. He's like doing exactly what Brett Favre did that finished his career. He's being this diva who wants all the control. And it's not going to fly in New York unless they win. And that's the biggest caveat. If they win, everything will be fine. And they have a good defense. He has better weapons probably now in New York with Garrett Wilson. Is that the guy they drafted last year? They brought in Lazard. So, I mean, and then they have Breece Hall coming back. So if they win, everything's going to be great and dandy. But if anything goes awry, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And I'm here to watch the thing burn down.
And if we take it to the football field for a second, that's it. If you're a Jets fan, obviously this is a good move, right? You don't have Zach Wilson as your quarterback next year, but with a really good defense. You obviously have one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. So you're not obviously looking at that, but I'm just saying there's going to be much more pressure on him. Like 8-8 is not going to cut it. 10-6 and a first round exit. Yeah, good job, but it's not what I think Jets fans are hoping for in that regard. I think they're hoping for a little farther run, or that's what I'm expecting. So we'll see.
You feel the Packers got sick of that too at the end. I don't think they were ready for another 10-6 first round exit. He was going to take heat for that.
No, because he gets to like the way he left that Packers stadium was so weird to me. That end of the game.
Oh,
yeah, it felt like he was retiring or something after that exit.
He was going to
definitely looked staged.
He was headed to Oregon. He knew he was headed. He was going. He was doing the little room. Could you do that when you go to a room and not see? You're like in a dark room for like 4 days or something like that.
Probably on ayahuasca.
Is that healthy? Is that healthy?
What? No, it's not. Make your brain go wild.
I heard a lot of raccoons out there. I heard a lot of animals out there. I don't know. He's my cold of the week, Tyler. I had to put him on there with it.
I think my cold of the week is Odell Beckham.
Odell,
because he just doesn't want to seem like he wants to get signed. Now he's saying he wants $20 million for one season, and I don't know. I don't think he's worth that much money.
He did refute that claim and say, "I just want more than 4," is what I said, and someone took it wild. But the fact that it gets reported isn't a good sign for him. And like you said, he seems like he just wants to be in the news without making any plays on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, know who is hot? Got Jimmy Bryant on the Raiders.
Oh man,
Jimmy G on the Raiders. Gotta love it. I'm trying to buy in. I'm liking it. I like the move a little bit more here. You guys talked me up a little bit with him yesterday. I had to ask you the question of what could he possibly provide. Said a little bit more clutchness. Obviously, we know that maybe not as clutch as you want your quarterbacks to usually be, but at least with Carr at least. I don't know. He gets like I said, he gets a 3-year deal there. Let's kind of go just to a basic question with it. Is it an upgrade over Carr? I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Go ahead.
What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I do think he's an upgrade over Carr because they did need something different. But I guess with the negative with Jimmy's, like, can he stay healthy? If he takes that big hit, is he going to go down? But I mean, like Tyler said on T&B yesterday, he's great over the middle of the field and he wins games. So that's something the Raiders haven't had. So.
Well, we'll see.
I agree with everything Brian said. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions for Darren as a Raider fan.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Waller trade? Does that make any sense to get rid of the guy who he plays a little more outside for a tight end than most tight ends, but can dominate over the middle? And then do you want them to take a quarterback, move up in the draft, get a quarterback, or you just want Jimmy G to be the lone quarterback back there?
No, I think what I want them to do is I want them to take. Let's address the Waller part for a 3rd-round pick. It always feels disappointing when you trade like a good player for even what they say it's the 100th pick overall. So I guess I said he's the 100. Where was he in the top 100 this year? Where was he in the top 100? Where did the players vote him? I don't know. Like that's the part that's a little disappointing. I do think they had to free up salary cap, right? I actually don't mind the tight end from LSU they have.
Foster?
So I like him there. And then I think I'm not necessarily sold they need to take a quarterback. I actually kind of don't want them to do. I kind of want them to take something else. They just need more help. It sounds like there's not enough defensive players out there. It sounds like the offensive line is going to be what they address. But I don't know. I just think it's a good move for them to kind of get some new blood in there. We'll see what your brother thinks about it. His play is going to have to obviously live up to it. But like you said, him being hurt too will be a big part of it.
So do you want them to go O-line or do you want them to go?
I never want a team to go.
like whatever you do, don't take that Kentucky quarterback.
I don't know, honestly. Like I really think it sounds like I forget his name off the top of my head, but I was looking at him, the guy from Ohio State, the offensive lineman. It just seems like a lot of people have projected him to be the pick. So I don't know. I honestly don't have a feel for this draft yet on where they go. I wouldn't mind if like Richardson was there. Maybe you take him and take a chance with him or something like that. All right, let's keep it moving here. Who's cold? Nuggets lost 5 out of 6. Tyler, how concerned are you?
I'm not concerned. Just this time of season, they're still the 1 seed. I think I think they'll turn it back on. The defense has me a little concerned if it's effort or if it's just bad defense. We'll see. They don't really have defensive names if you look at it outside of Aaron Gordon, so it could be a real problem. But I'm not concerned yet. I'll be concerned if they let the 1 seed get away from them. Then I'll be a little more concerned.
Brian, Philadelphia Sixers have won 8 straight, and they've moved it within two games of the top seed in the East. Are you buying playoff success for the 76ers? Let's get your breakdown.
I see another disappointing effort in the first round again. Bounce.
Are you bitter because the Eagles beat the Niners? Is that why you got Philadelphia to lose? That way you bought them? Tyler, what do you think?
I mean, as long as Doc Rivers still the head coach.
He's still the head coach. Last time I checked. James
I
Harden,
expect him to lose in the second round of the Eastern Finals. I do love Embiid's game. He's probably one of my favorite players to watch.
He might win MVP, I think, now.
I think he should win it at this point.
Yeah, with this Nuggets losing streak.
Yeah, he's coming on. He's unbelievable player.
I think Jokic did that on purpose just to kind of calm things down around the NBA.
That's a loser's mentality. That is not what I want to hear. If that's the truth, I'm completely worried about Denver.
You know what? I support. I want to bring down some of the hostility around this MVP debate. I'm going to lose on purpose to make it. What a nice guy. So that's my theory with the 76ers there. It will be interesting if they play the Bucks. In that Celtics, whoever gets that matchup right when they play each other, that's just going to be a fierce matchup there. All right, last one. Who's cold? I got top talent in NCAA. Good players still out there, but obviously we're missing Scoot Henderson. Man, wouldn't it be nice to see Victor over in the NCAA tournament? So you got to admit the play though in the tournament does lead to some of these guys being drafted a lot higher when they play better.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a launching pad to elevate your draft status. The top talent, there's not much talent. There really isn't outside of Brandon Miller and a couple of the Arkansas kids. But Arkansas won with their top 2 lottery picks who are freshmen scoring 4 total points. And they played big minutes. That's how messed up this college basketball thing is. The 2 lottery picks on your team scoring 4 total points and you're winning games. Something's going amiss.
Well, coaching matters so much in college. That matters. They can formally see it. And the guy, how about the guy you forgot? Top talent, the guy from Princeton, the Newcastle from Newcastle, England, crushed you guys. What a player! What a player! Tyler.
You got big stiff like Omar Ballin there, just getting worked.
But you're right; they're missing the guys like Green from last year. We went to the Rockets. They're missing guys. All right, so that was our who's hot, who's cold this week. Let's finish it up here. Like we said, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Follow Tyler and Brian over at the TMB podcast here. Guys, kind of getting into baseball season here, coming shortly. Brian, let's go right to it. Our winners and losers of the week. What do you got, my friend?
For my loser, I got Kinlaw because the Niners picked up Hargrave, so it looks like they're going to be either dealing him or he's going to be on another team next year. And then my winner of the week is, I would say, I'm going to go wrestling. I'm going to go Cody Rhodes.
I was waiting for that.
We love our WWE update. What Cody Rhodes do this week?
Because I actually think he's gonna take out the head of the table at WrestleMania.
Wade Boggs. How's Wade doing? Wade doing pretty good. How's our boy? Was it Bosa compared to Wade Boggs? That was a very. It's not actually Wade Boggs. What's his name?
Rick Boggs.
Thank you. We don't want to
Rick,
offend
Rick Boggs already. A week later.
Oh, Tyler, what do you got?
We already touched on my winner is Dylan Brooks. The way he's played the last week, just since the whole controversy of Jaw going down with whatever he's dealing with. And then he stepped up. They came back from 20 down 2 nights ago, and then they kicked the shit out of the Warriors. He was efficient. He played great defense. He shut Curry down. And then my loser of the week, it's the Warriors. You're putting a product out there that is worse just based on your choices of what your team's wearing. You look uglier. You play worse. Get rid of these artichoke uniforms that Ant calls them. They're god-awful. I don't want to see them. I'm almost rooting for them to lose now when they wear them. They don't deserve to win. Play in the blue, the yellow, and the white. No more black. We're not a black team. A black color is not part of our uniform. Just wear the blue, the yellow, and the white. I'm sick of this branding that we're doing as the Golden State Warriors. It's pathetic. It's ugly.
We're blue and white. They're yellow. Like those are the main colors. I got you. They try to do all these different designs. I hear you. The uniforms are not the best. He did say though at the game yesterday there was a lot of them walking around. I thought that was not a good sign for you. I mean, they're only going to keep them longer, maybe. Everybody, and then it's not that they don't. I think they've worn that jersey the most, maybe the whole season. Doesn't it feel like it?
Oh, they definitely have worn it more than. I don't think they've worn their white jerseys all year.
If they have, it's only been. If they have, I only remember it a few times on the road. They wore it against the Clippers the other night. That's the last time I can remember them wearing it, and that was at a home game, like we said. Do you have winner of the week?
Yeah, Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. All right, I got. Sorry, I did that name. I forget about that name. All right, I got
That's tough.
Sac State. You got to shout about our sisters with the Sac State. They made the NCAA tournament. Tyler, can you believe it? They lost.
I did not even know that.
I know. My sister actually, she was fired up because Sacramento State was hosting the tournament that we went to, and so they had so she was reading the information in this pamphlet. You can read all the players about it, and so she was going through it. And so they were hosting it. So she's like, "Oh, they play." Sacramento plays UCLA in Los Angeles. She's like, let's fly down there. I was like, that's all right. I thought it was a 1 seed. I forgot that the 4 seed toast, but it ended up being a 13 seed. They played last night. It was kind of cool seeing them on ESPN. Sac State. They ended up losing, but like I said, after 3-2 a couple of years ago, a little shout out to our sisters alma mater there. So thought they deserved a winner of the week there with it. I also had a couple winner of the weeks here. I had a couple. Let me get my list here. A few of them. I had the baseball thing, the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
The emotion, you tweeted it. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool. I mean, it's nice to see Trey Turner not in a Dodger uniform, first off. And then the games are just, I was not a big World Baseball Classic guy. I still don't think it matters in the end, like for these guys' careers or anything, but it's fun. It's better than watching the Cactus League or the Grapefruit League. So, give me the World Baseball Classic every 2 years.
Musselman taking off his shirt. Is that winner of the week material? Is that a loser of the week? For the Arkansas
that's loser of the week.
Everybody's taking their shirts off now after wins.
They were pulling out their inner Mike Dudley. I was shocked that I thought he was over Arkansas, the way the season ended for them. He seemed to be disgruntled, and all of a sudden it is all riled up and ready to go. I'm good for them. I was shocked to see it.
What if they show his wife? It's funny on the call. They always go to certain wives, all the time. It's like, remember Mike Krzyzewski's wife? They'd always go to her all the time. How she's like. All right. I also got winner of the week here real quick. I got like I said, we already have the Trey Turner one. I had my experience at NCAA. Got shout out my mom too. Her idea going with us there. Tyler, wish you could have gone, man. Next time that would be awesome. Like I said, for you to go there with us. Loser of the week. I got Sharks have lost 14 of the last 16, so that's a loser a few weeks there. Unbelievable. And now we're last place of the Western Conference, so tanking, like you said, for who is it, Marvin Bedard?
Marvin Bedard. No, I don't know his first name. Eric Bedard, maybe?
Eric Bedard. I like that Mighty Ducks uniform we saw yesterday, too.
Oh, my God.
And then Matt Painter from Purdue, he just can't win. You talk about having a problem with the Arizona coach. this might be where you be with that might be, you know what I mean? That's what Matt Painter is for Purdue over there. So that's my lose of the week. And then what was it? Altuve goes down, a few injuries this week. What Diaz go down in the World Baseball Classic too. So a couple big injuries around
that was a big one.
So
it looked like Brandon Nimmo got hurt also rounding first base going to second. So the Mets are just getting hit. Perfect timing.
I had to get it in there one time with it. All right, Tyler. Any last thoughts here? You got maybe are you gonna do maybe one of the college runs with me for 20 minutes? You gotta try to do a sneaker recap.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the one on the 18th. No, what day did you have planned on the schedule?
You should try to do the one with me and Casey today. Here, that's what we're doing for 20 minutes. You
guys are doing one tonight?
Yeah, that would.
I'll see if I can speak on tonight then.
So yeah, it'd be good to have you on there. Tyler, Brian, till next week. Peace.
All right. Peace.